This right here is truly one of the worst shoes I've ever tried to fix in my life.
What's up, Rejuvenator? I'm so excited to get my 1985 Kentucky High Dunks restored. I've had these for a while now. There's rips in the back, crazy heel drag, Sharpie marks on the soles, there's chipping, but I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with them, and I can't wait to be able to wear them again.
I like to challenge myself, but when I first saw these shoes, I wondered if I made a mistake taking on this project. There's only one way to find out, so let's get started. For today's project, we're going to be working on these rare, beat 1985 Kentucky Dunks. These shoes have seen better days. We're going to do our best to make the shoe as presentable as possible. There is some heavy damage all around the sneaker. There's paint scuffing all around the blue, the white. The Nike tongue label has fully faded off. There's a lot of wear and tear on the soles. On the back, there's a huge tear on both sneakers. In a perfect world, I would go in and reswap the entire thing. However, Nike still hasn't given us a proper 85 retro sole in this exact colorway. There are other blue and white dunk soles, but they're not the same as the 85 release. This version is a lot thicker and has a different shape, so if I was to swap it with the retro sole, it would just look off. In this case, we want to keep this restoration and shoe as original as possible. First things first, we're going to take out the laces. These shoes do not have any insoles, so we're not going to worry about that. Before we get going on the cleaning process, I'm going to remove all the stitching from the sole on both shoes. Near the toe box on both sides, the stitching is completely gone, so I'm going to remove it so we can replace it later. Before we set up all the Rejuvenator products to start the cleaning process, let's go next door and use the compressor to blow off any surface dust on the outside of the shoes, especially on the insides. To get this restoration going, we're going to be using our Rejuvenator Essential Shoe Cleaning Kit. These shoes are extremely dirty inside and out. Ideally, I would like to put them in the washing machine, but these shoes are way too old for that. So the Essential Shoe Cleaning Kit is what's going to do the trick today. First, we're going to insert our shoe trees to help eliminate the creasing on the toe box and hopefully reshape a little bit of this back as well. Next, we're gonna grab some solution and squirt 2 squirts inside our bowl of water. This is gonna help clean up the shoes inside and out, but it's also gonna help recondition the old leather on these sneakers. To get the cleaning going, the first brush we're gonna be using is a saw bristle to start breaking down the grime and dirt on the insides and uppers. All done with the saw bristle brush, we did our best to clean up the uppers and insides as best as possible. A lot of the marks you see on the uppers are scuffs on the blue and the white. We have some red overspray paint on the toe box and the tongue, some blue dye from the blue leather. All that stuff is not gonna come out even by trying to use a medium bristle brush. So we're gonna skip that brush. We're also gonna skip using the stiff bristle brush. There's a lot of grime on these soles that's been on there for decades. I can try to use a stiff bristle brush. I have no doubt in my mind that it'll wipe off the grime, but in this case, using the brass bristle brush should do the trick to get this grime off, and it'll be a lot faster. Cleaning is done. We're gonna let these dry next to a fan overnight. All that's left to do is to give these laces a good scrub with the water and solution that's left over in the bowl. All right, these laces are filthy. I'm gonna let these sit overnight so they can continue to break down the grime. Tomorrow morning, I'll take them out and give them a good rinse. Got the shoes all cleaned up and dried. These look a lot better in person. The leather feels good thanks to the solution. Let me remind you guys that these shoes are almost 40 years old. They're more on the beat side. All the marks that you see on the blue uppers, such as here and over here, are paint scratches and scuffs. All of that's got to get repainted. The tongue looks a lot better as well. There are some blue stains that didn't come out from the leather. There is some red overspray as well on both tongues. That didn't come out as well. That's okay. The soles also look great, but at some point over the years, something spilled on them. The owner didn't clean them up and it just sat there for a long time to the point where it stained and it just didn't come out. What I'm gonna do to try to fix that is apply some Rejuvenator Soul Revive, put them in the indoor setup. Hopefully that can lift the stains on this sneaker as well. At some point with a Sharpie, somebody wrote Ziggy, and over here, you can barely see the word Ace. I'm not sure if that's gonna come out, but Sortivi is probably gonna be my best bet. Before we get into all that, let's do some prep work on the uppers. The leather's pretty rough from all the scuffs and scratches. We're gonna be using some 800 grit sandpaper to smooth it all down. I'm gonna hit the white and the blue in a circular motion. Sanding is complete. We eliminated a lot of those rough areas on the leather. Next, we're gonna be using some acetone and cotton balls to finish the prep work. Really what I'm trying to do is wipe off the red overspray that's on the toe boxes. Prep is complete on the uppers. We'll take care of the painting later on in this video. First, we gotta take care of the separation on the toe box. As you can see, these two panels are separating. That's because the stitching has come undone from all the wear and tear. We're gonna fix that. First, we're gonna tape off the white, lay down a little bit of glue inside using some Barge Super Stick. Let it cure, we'll heat it up, stick it together. Then we'll go to the patcher with some matching blue thread and lock it in. All right, before we start sewing, there's one more step I'm gonna do. Using a seam ripper, I'm gonna remove these old tongue tags. Usually I like to keep these original, but in this case, you can't even see the Nike tongue tags anymore. So we're gonna pop them off and replace them. Old tags are off, these are no good. Luckily, I have a big bag full of replacement tongue tags from old projects. This is a set from a retro pair of Kentucky Dunks. It's perfect for this project, but as is, they're way too white. We're gonna grab my leftover coffee, let them sit in there for a good hour. When we pull them out, it should have a nice creamy tint that'll go perfect with these used tongues. Sewing is complete. We got the new tongue tags in place. They look good with the rest of the shoes. I also locked in the two panels on the toe box. There's a lot of loose threads all around the sneakers, so real quick, let's remove them. I'm gonna be using some scissors to cut the bigger threads, then a lighter to burn off the frayed threads all around the sneaker. All right, let's focus on the bigger issue, these deep cuts in the back. Usually when it's at this point, there's not much you can do. I'm gonna try my best to make it more presentable. Not even sure if it's fixable just yet, but I gotta start somewhere. Using an X-Acto knife, I'm gonna go in and cut off some of the padding from the inside to make some room. All right, so we cleaned up the insides just a bit. Now let me explain what's going on. This is supposed to be one panel, but something happened, it split down the middle. I've never fixed this before, so the only solution that I can come up with is getting a piece of leather roughly this size, gluing it on one side, making sure it's bonded correctly, then on this side, gluing it down as well. Hopefully, it can act as a bridge and connect these two pieces as close as possible. We'll see how it goes. So far so good, we got half of it glued down. I still have to lay down more glue on this other half so we can stick everything together. Before I glue this panel down over here, I'm gonna fill this area in with some foam. This is 1/2 inch foam. I don't want there to be a gap, so I cut out a little piece that I think will fit in there. Once it's all glued down, there shouldn't be anything hollow. All right, I'm pretty impressed. That looks a lot better than I thought. We still have 2 big cracks, but with some leather filler, hopefully it'll look a lot better. It's the end of the day, so I'm gonna leave off by putting these shoes inside the indoor setup. I'm gonna be using some Shoe Store Revive. I don't mind the yellowing on the shoe. The idea here is to remove a lot of these stains that's in the back area, the marker that's on this shoe over here, Ziggy, Ace. Hopefully the Store Revive and the UV rays from the indoor setup can lift all that stuff up. We'll see how it goes. When applying the Store Revive, you just need to get a thin layer all around the rubber outsole. The one thing you don't want to do is get any Store Revive on the uppers. Got the shoes out of the indoor setup. It's been about 12 hours. Before I took off yesterday, I ended up flipping them on its side to get the most UV rays beaming on the side where the ink was. Great news, the Ziggy and the Ace fully came out thanks to the Store Revive and the UV rays. Now back here on both shoes, the Store Revive and the UV rays did help remove some of it, but it's still kind of there. Since the UV rays was just beaming on one side of the shoe, at the end of the day, I'm gonna put them back inside and focus on the opposite sides. On this side, there's still a bunch of marks. Hopefully the combination of those two can help remove them. Now let's get back to the cracks. We're gonna be using Andrew's leather filler to make these cracks less noticeable. I'm gonna be using a spatula. I'll apply a nice and even coat, let it sit for a few hours, and then we'll do some sanding. Leather filler's been applied. I'm gonna let it dry for several hours before I do sanding. While we wait, let's take care of the paint job on the leather. I'm gonna start off with the blue. To get the perfect color match was a little bit tricky. I started off with the sapphire blue and added some violet to get a purpley tone. It was still lacking that purple, so I added a drop of red. Then it was too dark, so I added some white, added some duller to remove the shine. Then I got the perfect mix. I'm gonna lay it down using a paintbrush. These shoes are really old and obviously used. I don't wanna give it a perfect paint job. I wanna leave some of the patina on the sneaker, so I wanna be very strategic on where I lay down the paint. I'm not gonna get any paint on the blue stitching. Blue paint job is all done, color match is on point, let's move on to the white. For this part, it's not a bright white, so I mix it up with flat white, cream, and mist to get the perfect tone. Once again, I'll be using a small detail brush to get it on there. The trick is not get any paint on the blue. Paint job is complete. They look great. The white took a little bit longer than the blue because it took a couple extra coats, but there's a night and day difference from what they looked like before. All the overspray and cracking on the toe boxes are completely gone. Now we're back onto the back. As I was laying down the paint, I laid down some more leather filler on that crack. I let it dry overnight. It's ready to sand. As is, it's pretty rough, so I'm gonna be using some 800 grit sandpaper to get it smooth. Hopefully, I can get it flush with the rest of this leather panel. Part 1 of the sanding is complete. Overall, it's nice and smooth, but it's still missing some leather filler. I'm gonna apply another thin coat, let it dry for several hours, sand one more time. Hopefully, I can get it flush with the rest of the leather. While we let this part dry once again, let's jump over to the soles. In the beginning of the video, I removed all the stitching, mainly because it was so old, dirty, and up here, it was all torn apart. So we're gonna be using some Tex 270 thread to replace it. For the thread, I put in some coffee that gave it a slight aged look to match the midsoles. We're gonna be using a sewing gauze to install it. overall, it looks a lot better with the second coat of leather filler. That's as good as it's gonna get. I already sanded it down. Next, I'm gonna tape off everything but this panel so I can airbrush the paint. All taped up, we're gonna be using some white paint with a little bit of cream for a nice aged look. We wanna cover up the leather filler. While I'm at it, there's some other stains on the side panels that didn't come out with the acetone. The paint should cover it up. Paint job is complete. I'm stoked on how this turned out. This panel had a glossy finish, so we're gonna go outside, lock in that paint, and recreate that finish. Almost done with the restoration on the back. So far, so good. We got these two leather panels fully shut. All that's left to do is work on the sock liner. Unfortunately, the way the shoe sits, I can't put it on the machine and try to sew this part down. The best I could do is glue it down with some bar super stick and a small little brush. I'm gonna roll it over as best as I can. Again, there's only so much I can do in this situation. All right, that worked out perfect. We got the sock liner rolled over nicely. That part's complete. All that's left to do is to lace it up with some fresh, clean laces. Shoes are all laced up, restoration is complete. Real quick, I wanna give you guys a good stress test on this area that I just fixed. I'm gonna tug on it as hard as I can to show you guys that this is not gonna split again. Now that's how you fix that. It looks good and it's fully wearable. I'm excited. Let's get the owner on the call so we can show him what we done.
What's up?
What's up, dude? How you doing? Off the rip, where'd you get these 85 dunks?
Off eBay. They popped up. I had this search saved because I've been wanting them for a while. Shut up, they're pretty beat, so I got them for a decent price.
How much you pay for them?
I only paid $300 for them.
That's what's up, man. That's a good price. Why this pair, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just a huge 85 guy. I have a few ones. I've been wanting a pair of dunks. I also just love that vintage look. I know they were kind of beat, but I feel like just looking at them, everyone could kind of see like, oh, that's an 85.
That big old slash on the back, I didn't want to take on the project because of that. So I was like, all right, screw it. I'll challenge myself. Let's see how it goes. So that's basically it, dude.
No way.
I got it all covered up, sealed.
My God, that's wild.
Overall, like, I kept the original look of the sneaker. You know, I left some of the patina. I got the ink off the sneakers on the sole.
Oh my God.
I wanted to give these a sole swap, but the thing is, in the market, there is no proper 85 retro blue and white dunk sole. If I would have grabbed one of those other regular retro soles, it would have looked kind of funky. Over here on the stitching, it was completely coming off. Gave it a nice paint job all around the blue and the white. The white had a lot of overspray on the red, cracking going on and stuff, so that's basically back to brand new. Honestly, bro, I mean, a lot of details went into the work, but the thing I'm most proud of is the back. You know, like, once you see the video, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Bro, I'm having a hard time believing that's the same shoe. That is wild. I'm happy. I can't wait to watch the video and see it all.
Sounds good, man. Well, I'm gonna get these boxed up, ship them your way. Send me a message on what you think.
For sure. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right, guys, that's gonna bring us to an end on this full restoration of these 1985 original Kentucky Dunks. I'm so glad the owner liked this restoration. I'm stoked on how they turned out. Adding the piece of leather on the inside to bridge the split panels was a great idea. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really proud of this one, you guys. I'm still looking for restorations to do on the YouTube channel, whether it's something I never worked on before, an original sneaker, or a huge challenge just like this one. Send us an email down below with a description and photos and we'll get back to you. Now last week, I did these really cool Spider-Man customs on these Air Force Ones. I asked everybody to comment a theme they wanted to see next, so I picked the top 10 ideas that I liked from the comments. There was a lot of great ones. We had Wolverine and Deadpool, a wrestling theme, Power Rangers, Mortal Kombat, Star Wars, Dragon Ball Z, Scarface, Transformers, Batman Beyond, Joker, all great ideas, and I feel like at some point I'm gonna hit all these themes. Ultimately though, I think I'm gonna have to go with the wrestling theme. I've never done anything WWE, WWF related. Right now it's super entertaining with the Rock back. WrestleMania just happened. It's a perfect time to do a WWE custom. There's a lot of great wrestlers from over the years, but I'm thinking for this one, a Stone Cold Steve Austin will be a cool concept. Shout out to Kong Daddy for coming up with a great idea. You won yourself a Rejuvenator Executive Kit. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys next Monday. See you guys.